Hello everyone, welcome back to our daily issue analysis. Today we are going to discuss one very important issue which is not only important from GS2 point of view but also important from GS4, that is ethics point of view, important for women's right, and it has an ethical angle as well. So let's start our discussion and see what is the topic for today. So today we are going to discuss about abortion, and you know why we are discussing this. If you are reading the newspaper, if you have come across this information, something related to USA, and then the issue in media related to our MTP, okay, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 2021. So if you are familiar, then you know that this is a hot topic. So this is in news because United States Supreme Court has overturned its old judgment which has affected the constitutional rights for women. Women rights, it is being seen that it is a step backwards for women rights in USA. So what is it? First, let's understand the history. So in 1973, there was a case, Roe versus Wade judgment was there. So there was a Texas woman in 1970s who was seeking for an abortion when she was 5 months pregnant. At that time, Texas had ban on the abortion except to save mother's life. The case then went to Supreme Court. She appealed to Supreme Court. She went there and she asked for abortion. So a majority of opinion, there was a legal battle, and in 1973, United States Supreme Court took a decision and they recognized abortion as constitutional right. Yes, abortion as constitutional rights in the US, considering the fetal viability. Remember these two keywords. They recognized abortion as the constitutional right, and on what grounds? Considering the fetal viability. Okay. So what has happened now? Now United States Supreme Court has overturned this Roe versus Wade judgment, which means that US women will no longer enjoy this right to abortion, which was their constitutional rights. And it is being seen as a step back for women rights in USA. And thus it has affected around 36 million women across US are on the verge of losing their right to legal abortion. Okay. So US Supreme Court has decided to overturn 1973 Roe versus Wade decision, which legalized abortion across the country. So you must have come across this editorial that how it is being seen as regressive, inhumane, and the US Supreme Court's stand is being criticized. Last line you read, by removing the constitutional right to abortion, US Supreme Court puts itself on the wrong side of liberty. So it is a matter related to rights, liberty. So we will discuss the issues, we will discuss pros and cons, everything, and how we are seeing in India this issue. So it is very important for your GS2, it is very important for your GS4 as well. So let's discuss further. Whenever we talk about abortion, so there are two opposite viewpoints. One is about pro choice and the other one being pro life. So these viewpoints are talking, the perspectives are different. So pro choice, whenever we discuss, so pro choice emphasizes the woman's choice whether to terminate a pregnancy, to conceive for that matter or not, whether to carry the baby or not. So basically, here the issue is revolving around women. It is a matter of bodily integrity. So women is the central point, and whatever her choice would be, it should be respected. So it is pro-choice. Then we have pro-life. Pro-life position, it stresses that humanity of both the mother and fetus is equally important. Even they are saying that fetus, they are arguing that that fetus is like a human. They can feel the pain, and thus they deserve legal protection. So pro-life people or this ideology, they see the things from humanitarian aspect. Okay, so these are the two viewpoints around which the debates, the discussions, and accordingly people will put up their arguments. It happens. So let's understand the arguments for and against abortion. So the arguments against abortion we have covered under different categories. So the first one is being around the life of fetus. So it is said that if the fetus is beyond 20 weeks of gestation, abortion causes pain to fetus as well. So thus argument should not be thus abortion should not be done. So this argument is against abortion because even the fetus can feel the pain. So we should respect, it is their right to be protected, and thus let them come. to this world. We should welcome them. The second point is with respect to discrimination. So it is believed that if we allow liberal abortions, then it can lead to selective abortions based on the physical and genetical abnormalities. Maybe people can go for abortion based on the height, weight, or the, which may not be any under any compelling circumstances. Okay, so people might go for selective abortion based on what they want. So it can lead to discrimination. That is a second viewpoint with respect to why we should not go for abortion. The third point is when we have alternatives available, then why don't we use alternatives and we leave the matter reach till abortion? When equally for men and women, both can use contraceptions. There are so many methods of contraceptives, options for contraception. So why don't we use them to prevent unwanted pregnancy? And isn't it very logical that if we don't want something, we have options and we should use it? So we should not let the matter reach till abortion. So where when there are alternatives, use it to avoid abortion. Then another argument is revolving around altruism. So we know that many women cannot conceive because of medical conditions. Various conditions are there, especially in the present setup, because of the present food habits, and there are problems. The sedentary lifestyle, women and men equally are facing the medical conditions, which is leading to this problem where they cannot conceive. So instead of killing the fetus, women should give their unwanted babies to such people who cannot conceive. So it will be seen as an act of altruism where you are thinking about others than thinking about yourself only. So this is another argument against abortion. The last one being related to misuse. So we know that with technological progression, a gender of the child can be determined by ultrasonography, and especially in the setup like India, in country like India, we are facing this problem of declining child sex ratio. So our sex ratio is getting skewed. Okay, so if we have liberal abortion laws, then it can harm the overall society in future as well. So it can be used to misuse, where people will use it to kill female child. So these are the arguments against abortion. Now we'll see arguments, other side of arguments. Now we will understand the arguments supporting abortion. So the first point is related to the fundamental rights. So we have discussed that right to choose whether to conceive or not to conceive, whether to carry pregnancy to its full term or to terminate it in between. All these issues, all these matters are the core of one's privacy, dignity, personal autonomy, and as we have discussed earlier about bodily integrity, self-determination. So be it privacy, dignity, personal autonomy, bodily integrity, self-determination, or for that matter, even our right to health. So whenever we talk about these things, this is the one of the core aspect, that is of fundamental right. Even in the landmark judgment of 2017, the right to privacy judgment, the Puttaswamy judgment, which is famous, the Supreme Court judgment. So they also ruled that pregnant woman's decision to continue her pregnancy or not is part of her right to privacy. Thus, her right to life and personal liberty under Article 21 of the Constitution. So, if we argue from this point of view, then it is a matter of fundamental rights. So, abortion should be supported. Next, unsafe abortion. So, if we ban abortion completely, it can lead to unsafe abortions and things will go underground, illegal, just like surrogacy. We have banned surrogacy, and illegal ways have people are going for surrogacy through illegal channels. So, there are few data which I would like to tell you. So, the first data is one maternal death every 12 minutes is happening in India. So, this is according to UNICEF India and World Bank. India has one of the highest numbers of maternal death. According to UNICEF and World Bank, India has highest number of maternal death, that is one maternal death happening every 12 minutes. It's huge, every 12 minutes. And unsafe abortions are third leading cause of maternal death. So see how they are linked. Maternal death is happening every 12 minutes in India according to UNICEF India and World Bank, and unsafe abortions are third leading cause of the maternal deaths in India, right? So this is a concern. And not only that, out of the total abortions which are happening, only 12% of total abortions are done through public and private health facilities. Rest are being done by quads, or they are illegal, unregulated. There is no record of it. So just imagine what kind of abortion that would be, whether it would be safe or unsafe, right? So this is the second argument supporting abortion. So let's not ban it. The third argument is related to vulnerability of women. So we know that there are minor girls, physically disabled women, mentally ill women, or there would be women who will become widows during the course of pregnancy. Also, rape survivals are there. So for them, for them, if they undergo any kind of, let's say, pregnancy, and if they are not given any chance of abortion, for them it will be reminder of their condition, it will be reminder of their sexual abuse, and thus it will become a matter of trauma for them for lifetime. So they will become vulnerable, and it is not good, because just if the child is there, it will be reminder for them. So it is not good, because in that case there are vulnerable conditions related to women. So we should have the right for abortion. Next point is that if we ban abortion, then it punishes underprivileged women. How it is possible? So we know that women often take the legal recourse to terminate pregnancy beyond a certain point of time, that is beyond 20 weeks. So beyond 20 weeks, only they get to know about some genetic disorders, and if some conditions, medical conditions arises, then yes, legal recourse can be taken. But this luxury of legal course is not available to women who come from poor background. For them, abortion is easy, right? They cannot go and fight for their rights in the courts, because we know that how the court system becomes costly for and it penalizes the underprivileged people, the poor people. So it punishes them. So we should have option of abortion. Let's not ban it. Next, and the last point supporting argument is, whenever in the previous argument against abortion which we were discussing, was that one point was that we have contraceptives, why don't we take contraceptives? But the problem is there is poor accessibility to contraceptive and sterilization. So women should not be penalized for the state's failure of accessibility and availability. It is still an issue. If we talk about countries like India, it is still an issue. And why are we penalizing women in that case? Also, men has equal responsibility for it, for using contraceptives. So onus lies on them as well. Onus lies on the state. So it is the responsibility of the state. It is the responsibility of men as well. So let's not punish women. So access to contraceptive is still a problem. So poor accessibility of contraception and sterilization is there. So let's have this option of abortion. Okay. So these were the arguments for and against. We will see the Medical Termination and Pregnancy Act related issues in India. Now we will understand the medical termination of pregnancy in India. So we have Act, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act is there, and we will try to understand the timeline and its evolution. So in 1960s, in response to high number of induced abortion, Union government at that time established Shanti Lal Shah Committee, and the purpose was to consider the legalization of abortion in the country. So, based on the observation, they recommended something, and finally, after that, their recommendation, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, that is MTP Act, was enacted in 1971 in order to reduce the maternal mortality due to unsafe abortion. Remember, we discussed about unsafe abortion. So, this MTP Act 1971, it allowed abortion till 12 weeks with the advice of single medical practitioners. So till 12 week, if you want to go for abortion, you take the advice of single medical practitioner, it's okay. If abortion is between 12 to 20 weeks, then consent of two registered practitioners was needed. So that was between 12 to 20. But beyond 20 weeks, abortion was not allowed at all. So 12 to 20, and beyond 20 weeks, no abortion at all. But in all these years, more and more women started coming up for abortion after 20 weeks. And with the advancement of technology, medical technology advancement, the clear diagnosis of any issue, be it of genetic disorders or deformities, doctors were able to take decisions based on the facts only after the 20 weeks. So it was happening that on case to case basis women were approaching judiciary, and they were taking a legal recourse for this termination of pregnancy, that is for abortion beyond 20 weeks. So then amendments were brought in, and it was thought that, again, as we discussed, it is not possible for all the women to go take this legal route. So then the need for amendment was felt, and later MTP Act 2021 was brought. That is Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 2021 was brought. So now we'll see certain provisions of the MTP Act 2021 in detail, so that you will get a holistic understanding about this topic. Now we will discuss the important features of Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 2021. So the first point is that it in the limit of gestation period from 20 weeks to 24 weeks was increased in this act. So this act increases the, now it has increased the upper limit of medical abortion to up to 24 weeks from 20 weeks, okay, which was permitted in 1971 act. But this upper limit can only be exercised in specific cases. Okay, so what are those cases? What are the conditions? So if any termination or any pregnancy has to be terminated, or for abortion has to be done in between 20 weeks up to 24 weeks, then the opinion of two registered medical practitioners is required. That is, two RMPs is required. So this is one. And any abortion beyond 24 week is, if it is required, the pregnancy has to be terminated beyond 24 weeks, then it can only be done on the grounds of fetal abnormalities, and that too medical board will decide. And in that medical board there will be 4 members, and it will be set up in each state under this act, which will give this permission to do so. So this is about beyond 24 weeks. Not only that, this act also considers emergency cases where there would be an need, immediate need to save the life of the pregnant woman, and for that matter, abortion has to be done. So this act is recognizing such cases, and they are saying that in those cases, abortion can be done by single registered medical practitioner as well. So emergency cases, this is very unique feature, has been recognized. Not only that, there are provisions for unmarried women and minor also. So they can also access abortion. Under the above mentioned condition, they can also access it, because it does not mention the requirement of spousal consent. So unmarried women are there. So there is no requirement of any consent by anyone, be it the partner or parents or anyone. But if the woman is minor, in that case, in those cases, the consent of guardian is required. So these are the important features of what is allowed, what is not allowed, and how it, under what conditions it is allowed. So these are the features of Medical Termination Act, Pregnancy Act 2021. We'll look into the issues now. Now, before we discuss the issues of Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 2021, we will see certain conditions. So we have discussed that in under MTP Act 1971, up to 12 weeks, abortion was allowed. Now that time limit, upper limit has been increased now up to 20 weeks under MTP Act 2021, abortion can is allowed. But what could be the reasons for termination? ऐसा तो नहीं होना चाहिए कि ठीक है करवा लो जिसको करवाना है. There has to be certain checks and balances, reasons for the termination. So what are those reasons? So the reasons are, the first one being that if that pregnancy is causing any threat to the pregnant woman, risk life, it is risking the life of the pregnant woman, in those cases it is allowed. Next, if the pregnancy is causing grave concerns for women's physical and mental health, it is, if it is taking a toll on the physical and mental health of the woman, of the mother who has conceived, then in that case pregnancy is allowed, abortion is allowed. And the third condition, third reason could be that if the child which is there, and if the pregnancy is creating physical and mental abnormality or deformities are there, in such cases pregnancy, this abortion is allowed. So these are the reasons, could be the reasons for termination up to 20 weeks. Now we'll see other aspect. We also saw that if abortion has to be done under MTP Act 2021 between 20 to 24 weeks, then we need the permission or we need the consent of two registered medical practitioners. So, when is that possible? So, these are the conditions when it is possible or it can be done. It has to be, there has to be certain conditions, right? So, the first condition is if there are survival of sexual assault or rape, then it is a matter of concern and it will be a trauma for them even if delivery happens. Then let's go for abortion. Second point is when this pregnancy is happening in case of minors or physically disabled or mentally ill women, and for them also it will be a trauma, for them also it is not good for their life if any child is born out of some conditions which were not desirable without consent. So in such cases abortion is allowed beyond 24 weeks. Also, if there is change in marital status, maybe it can be related to widowhood or the pregnancy is from the first husband and now the woman is getting married to somebody else, then it might lead to marital discords. It might lead to instability in the new marriage. And then also it is not desirable. So women can take a call. So beyond 24 weeks, this abortion is allowed. Another can be fetal malformation. So if it has been observed that there is some condition of fetal malformation and deformities are there which is not good for the future of the born child, then also the medical board can decide and they can take a call. So under these conditions the abortion is allowed. Also there could be emergency situation as well, like disaster situation or emergency situation which in those cases if pregnancy is taking a toll on the health of the mother, and if the medical board or medical practitioners they find that okay, yes, no, it is going to take a disaster, it will be a disaster for the women or it is an emergency situation, in those cases also the abortion beyond 24 weeks can be done. Now we will look into the issues related to MTP Act 2021. So let's understand the certain issues related to medical termination of Pregnancy Act 2021. So shortage of doctors is there, yes. So there is a report by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and the report is of 2019, 2020. So the report is Rural Health Statistics Report. It highlights that there is a shortage of 60 to 70% of gynecologists in rural India. There is a shortage. So when there is a shortage, uh, how the people who want to get aborted or the women who want to get aborted facilities, how they can go for safe abortions when there is a shortage of a specialist itself. So this is one problem. Other problem is related to discrimination. So there are concerns that yes, as we have discussed, that in case of emergency cases, single medical practitioner can also take the call that yes, this was an emergency situation, that's why we are going for abortion. But if we are taking such liberal stands, what will happen? People will go for male preferences. People already, our sex ratio is skewed, it is disturbed. Further it will get disturbed because we know even though it is illegal in India, but still these sex determination centers, their business is flourishing. Illegal, even though it is a legal status, people are doing that, indulge in that. So such kind of discriminations might happen on the name of emergency. Such loopholes will be used by the medical practitioners. The third point is related to the marginalized section. So we have a data which is saying that there is a shortage of doctors. 60% shortage of a specialist is there in rural areas now. In rural areas, how these marginalized women will take the call when they need, if the pregnancy is between 20 to 24 weeks, they need the consent of two registered medical practitioners. So from where they will get two registered medical practitioners when there is shortage? Forget about one. The law is asking for two, and also the law is asking for medical board. So they will not have the accessibility. The marginalized section, rural communities, they may not have access to such medical practitioners at all. So these are the issues. Okay. Now we will understand way forward. What is the way forward? About, we have discussed about issues, we have discussed arguments for, against, we have discussed why it is in news. So what is the way forward in the context whatever we have discussed on the previous slide with respect to the issues? So we have already discussed the loophole, so we have to correct that. One of the important aspect is of last mile connectivity, last mile access or availability of what? Safe abortion, contraceptives. So the overall reproductive and adolescent health services should be there in the remote areas as well. Then only people will get benefit from it. Then only it will be available and accessible for the people to take decisions. Next, WHO had issued guidelines. They suggested that certain guidelines they suggested for safe abortion. So they have suggested a four-pillared approach. So what are these four-pillared approach? Listen it very carefully. The first pillar is respect for human rights. The second one, supportive framework of law and policy. The third one, availability and accessibility of information. And the fourth one is supportive health system. Okay, by the way, if you are making notes, don't worry. We are already providing notes, handwritten notes to you. And do join our Telegram channel because daily we are providing the PDF handwritten revision friendly notes of the whole discussion which we are doing here right now. So notes making is not required because that is being provided. You just focus on revision and revise it more and more so that you can write good answers. Okay, so WHO has recommended four pillared approach. So how to remember it? So WHO is saying that first focus on human rights. Focus on human rights because it is all matter related to humans. So we should focus on respecting human rights. Okay, chalo, we have respected human rights. So how to empower that human right? How to give dimension to that respect of human rights? So there has to be a supportive framework of law and policy. That's why we came up with MTP, that is Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 2021 is there. Earlier we came up in 1971. Now law is there in place, but women don't know about it. They are not aware about it. So there comes role of the third pillar, that is availability and accessibility of information. So WHO's third pillar is availability and accessibility of information. Then only women will get to know, कि अच्छा, there is a law and we have, this is our right. So then only will they will get take benefit of it. So law is there, so information has to be there. Chalo. Now they have information also, they have awareness also. Now they're going and searching for facilities, but there are no services. Now what they will do? So there has to be a supportive health system. This is the fourth pillar. Supportive health system has to be required. So this is four pillared approach of WHO has been suggested. Okay, and in the last, the capacity building of ASHA worker has to be focused upon because if they are the people, the first point of contact for the rural people, marginalized people in the remote areas. So capacity building of ASHA workers has to be done. And also the overall, whatever we were discussing, we need to have access to legal and safe abortion, legal and safe. And this is very important because it is integral dimension of sexual and reproductive equality. Yes, it is very important dimension and it is integral dimension of sexual and reproductive equality. So with this, we are done with the topic of the day. It was lengthy, definitely, but it was important because we covered a lot of dimensions, the evolution, features, why it was in news, arguments for, against, suggestions, issues, way forward. So make use of it. And we are very sure that it would have helped you. Let us know your feedback in the comment section and do join our Telegram channel for the to get the access of the PDFs, revision friendly notes PDFs. Enjoy, take care, bye bye. We'll meet in the next video. Take care, guys.